Let me try to conduct myself properly for this review. Train pun. Let's hope this doesn't derail my review. I'm running out of steam. Okay, I'll stop. A lavish trip through Europe quickly unfolds into a race against time to solve a murder aboard a train. Everyone's a suspect when Detective Hercule Poirot arrives to interrogate all passengers and in search for clues before the killer can strike again. Murder on the Orient Express is directed by Kenneth Branagh, stars Kenneth Branagh, Daisy Ridley, Johnny Depp, Dame Judi Dench, Michelle Pfeiffer, Willem Dafoe, Josh Gad and a slew of other actors, and I've got to say this is a really charming movie. It looked beautiful and it was really elegant and it felt like an ode to old-fashioned filmmaking. The acting here done by Kenneth Branagh is so transformative and he really sells the slight idiosyncrasies and the quirks of the character and delivers a great performance, and it really is his movie, which, to be honest, it always kind of irks me when actors direct themselves, and it always feels like quite the vanity project, but here with such an experienced director, it didn't irk me at all, except the passion that he had for the character really shone through. In terms of the rest of the cast though, unfortunately no one here is really a standout, but I think this comes more so from the source material, as everyone is just kind of playing different archetypes. You know, you got the Countess, the Doctor, and various other one-dimensional, and to be honest, quite thankless roles, because the cast here isn't really given much to work with, and I don't know any of their names, which unfortunately does impact your enjoyment of the movie, because you find that Kenneth Branagh is shouting off names really fast, and because you're not aware of other characters besides him, it does get a little bit hard to follow. The acting here wasn't that great, and I didn't really feel as though I knew any of the characters. Like, I was just very aware that I was watching Judi Dench on screen, and I was aware that it was Daisy Ridley, but there was this one guy that kept on pulling me out of the movie every single time he was on screen, and his name is Sergei Polunin. And it was actually so bad, like, I can imagine Kenneth Branagh saying to him, okay, now you've got to, like, karate chop someone, and then look to the left of the camera while heaving. It was just really, really bad, and it was so terrible, but I did giggle to myself a bit. Also, some of the dialogue does chop between really great lines to some really, really, really bad lines. This movie is absolutely beautiful though. Everything from the set design to the cinematography is outstanding, and besides the fact that it's a murder train, it does actually make public transport look like a lot of fun. One thing that's always so hard to do with a film that's set in such close quarters is actually make it look like a real lived-in place, giving small details to some history and some texture, so what's not exactly on the forefront of the camera still looks lived in. They really do nail it here, and the train looks really beautiful, and even a lot of the sound and a lot of the camera movements make it feel like a real place. But there was also a lot of creativity in Branagh's directing, that he chose a really creative camera movements to really elevate the claustrophobia of the setting. But this movie does have a few faults. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not a smart person at all. It took me about 5 months to learn how to use Final Cut Pro to even know how to film these reviews, but I solved this mystery like halfway through the movie, which is odd because throughout the whole detective phase of the film it wasn't overly engaging, and I didn't really feel as though I was brought into the story to help solve it. There was just always this barrier, and I think that comes down to a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the exposition, because you're not exactly finding clues on the way yourself, you're just being told the clues by the detective. Unfortunately, it impacted my enjoyment of the movie because it was either trying to be too smart for its own good or trying to dumb it down so much for everyone to understand. It was just a really odd experience. It also had this really odd tone. Now, they'll be discussing something like the brutal murder of a character, and then they'll throw in a few quips to add some levity, but they kept on doing it throughout the movie, which was a really odd choice because of the pedigree of the on-screen talent and the definite talent to everyone working behind the scenes. I can only really surmise they did it just to make it a little bit more accessible to the general audience, but through doing that, they actually kind of spoiled a lot of the emotional impact that you would have had to the story as a whole. This is a beautiful looking movie, and I definitely think it needs to be in the discussion of Best Cinematography Oscar, even though it totally has to go to Blade Runner 2049. But it does fail in the sense of being a murder mystery. But as a fan of old-fashioned filmmaking, I did have a lot of things that I did enjoy, but it's definitely not going to be for everyone, so I can't really recommend it unless it is something that you're interested in seeing. Honestly, I think this would be a really fun rental, but definitely not worth the big cinematic outing. Personally, I'll be choosing it on Blu-ray just for those sweet special features. Thank you so much for checking out my review of Murder on the Orient Express. If you have seen the movie, please let me know in the comments below what you thought. And of course, if you like this video and want to see more, please click here to see more. Thanks for watching. See ya! This is really awkward because I just went to go and edit the video and I realized that I didn't even talk about this man's awesome mustache. Like, this is the best mustache in the history of film. Like, it like wraps around all around here. It's a sight to behold. And I don't know whether he grew it himself or not, but either way, just props. Just whoever did it, they deserve all the awards. Just everything that they could possibly get. Thank you.